What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's going on? We are here, episode 2 of the Locker Room. The Locker Room. We thank y'all for coming in, whether you're watching us live or whether you're going to come back later and you're going to check us out on the tape and of the recorded version. However, we appreciate you coming in. Hopefully, again, let us know who's on so we can just give you a shout out. We can't see you, but you can see us. So so we can just say what's up to you, and we want you to comment if you don't mind. Comment, talk to us, talk back to us. Today we're going to be talking about being a black man in America. It was great. The sports thing was great. We had a great time with that. But we know that we as men, we got a lot more issues to deal with and talk about other than sports, right? Even though we love our sports, our fellas group, we love sports, all sports, but we know that we got some other topics at hand. We got injustices, we got fatherhood, we got relationships, money, fitness. We got lots of that we need to talk about. But other than that, we wanted to start bringing in people. What's going on, Jared? What's going on, Jared? Jared couldn't be with us, but he in the chat group. He's going to be in the next one. He's going to be in the next one. What's going on, Deacon Payne? What's going on? What's going on? If y'all don't mind, share it. Send it to people. I gave y'all the flyer. If I didn't give y'all the flyer, let people know that we on MKW YouTube page and MKW Facebook page. All right. But we're going to bring in our first one. My man, once again, knew him many years, 20 plus, easy 20 plus years. I knew way longer than 20 years. I knew my man JJ. He was with us on episode 1. Come on, everybody say what's up. What's up to JJ? What's going on, JJ?
What's the deal? And that's 30 years at least. At least 30 years.
I said 20. I was like, I'm 40, so that means I'm 20.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the bowling alley days.
Exactly.
That's at least 30 years. Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
I was thinking I was 30. I guess that's why I said I was thinking I was 30. I forgot I was 40.
40's the new 30.
That's true. That's true. You coming over the second episode, man. I appreciate you.
No doubt.
And coming up next, again, I think now this might be 20 right here. This might be 20. Or mid-20s, I think I met this young man. I think about mid-20, I met this young man right here. I know you guys met him before I met him. I know you. Right. And then when I met him, he asked me about the wire. Yeah. That's an inside joke, Facebook. Anyway, it's going on 20 years. If not 20, it's going on 20.
It's about 20.
About 10. So at least, it's going on 20. Come on, clap your hands for D Hall. What's going on, Daydream? What's going on?
Oh, perfect product placement.
But do y'all have the wire?
Wait,
it keeps coming up. I don't know how it keeps coming up.
Wait, first of all, did you finish the wire though? I know you was asked.
Ben finished the wire. Ben finished it.
That's gonna be one of our talks in one of these next episodes about sitcoms and about TV shows. And you gotta talk about that one.
We might have to explain that story to people so they know what's going on.
That's true. So again, we know it's 5 of us. Y'all see Jao on the chat right there. So Jao's here with us. And Mike Noble, he should be coming in anytime. So again, right now it's gonna be 3 of us. Jao's gonna be with us next month. He's gonna be with us next month as we do episode 3. And Mike should be coming in. If not, we're gonna get it rocking. Rocking. What's going on, Christy Hall? Christy Hall is in here with us too. So we want to have open dialogue. We know a lot is going on with injustices. A lot is going on with racism and George Floyd. What's going on, Andre? So we want to, talk about that. We want to talk about that. So we're going to get right into it. Hopefully we got some men watching. Hopefully we got some men, please, and even women, please chime in. Give us your, give us your, your opinion. Yeah, Deacon Payne said no 5 heartbeats tonight. Now it's going to be 3 or 4. 4. So either, I don't know who 3, but either we're going to be the 4 tops. Anybody know a group with 3 people?
I mean, we might be Run DMC tonight.
Okay, I'm with that.
We might just have to be Run DMC.
I'm with that. All right, so cool. Again, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to start with my man JJ with the first question. Again, all the men on the chat, women on the chat, chime in. We'll get to your comments and your questions when we can. And just in general, JJ, we, this thing, I don't know, for us, this stuff started back, for us, me, I can remember, Amadou Diallo, right? I can remember Amadou Diallo.
Right.
Sean Bell, right? All of that. But this stuff really kicked off. Hold on. Let me bring in Noel. I know he's in his car real quick, but he backing up. Let me bring in Noel. What's going on, Noel?
There you go.
Up? Oh.
Good. Cool.
It's not choppy like Giles was the other time.
Now you good. Now you good, but I let you know you was gonna come in and be in the car for the first quick minutes or whatever. And then you said you moving to your house eventually. When you get home, you go inside your crib. You said, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. So we're gonna get right to JJ with this topic. JJ, how you feeling? About what everything's going on in your own words about injustices, George Floyd? You want to take us back further than that? How you feeling?
Excuse me. So it's kind of crazy because one of the first things I think about is where we are in this world in this time. We think it's like your first inclination could be like, this is really, really bad, right? And then I started thinking about, okay, well, what about my parents' era? What about their parents' era and stuff? Like, are we worse than that? I don't know. I don't know the real answer to that. I could just really speak on my lifetime. I could look at history and I could see that how bad it was in the civil rights era. We know how, we don't even have to go all the way down that road, but we see how bad it was. We see the water hoses being used on people. We see dogs being sicked on people. So, I don't know. And not that I want to like compare like, hey, what's better? What's worse? It's just sometimes I wonder like, how bad should I complain? That type of thing. And seeing the stuff that's going on, it's definitely disheartening because it does feel like, we're being targeted. And I'm not a woe was me type person, but you can't escape reality. You can't escape the facts. And the facts are that one of the main things that I bring up, I'm a real black and white type person. Like I try not to get into the gray area too much. I'm a black and white type person. So when I say that, I say, excuse me, when we see all these different police situations, like you said, we go back to Amadou Diallo and Sean Bell, and even up until, we could talk about Breonna Taylor, we talk about George Floyd and Sandra Bland and all these type of things. It's like, you would think, and I think Chris Rock might have said it. One of the comedians said this. It's like, you would think that police would sprinkle in a white person every once in a while, so it doesn't seem like we are targeting black people. So to me, if you I'm like I said, I'm a common sense type person. I'm a black and white type person. Like, how is it that it's only black men and women, right, and kids as well too, that are being targeted, and you don't see the white person that is being handled the same way black people are being handled?
So what do you say? So what do you say about? And anybody can answer this. What do you say about? And again, for those listening, I talked to them already. Just for generation. Just for conversation and general conversation. I want to talk. I'm gonna play a little devil advocate, and you guys can too. But what do you say when people say, man, there's more whites being killed than blacks being killed? But even though JJ, you just say we don't see it. So what do you say? Is it because of the ratio, the number, the percentage? So is it like that's a false number, or have you ever heard that before? That that there's more whites being killed by cops than blacks are being killed by cops. We're just not showing it on social media.
Where? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying where.
Yeah.
Like where is it? Because what floods my TV, what floods my news is all the George Floyd's, Sandra Bland's, Breonna Taylor's. And I don't hear about, and I don't want to take up all the time, but like you look at Dylan Roof, what happened in South Carolina, they walked him out, got him something to eat. Where's that same situation for us? You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, bad is bad, right? Like if you've done something wrong, the old saying is if you do the crime, you got to do the time. But what I'm trying to say is, how is it that there's such the disparity in those different situations? This man went into a church, shot up people, and was handled with care. You know what I mean? He was handled with care and said, hey, before we take you in, let's get you something to eat.
Yeah.
So what you want? What you want to eat?
What you want to eat? Yeah.
Exactly. So
So cool. So I'm gonna post something real quick. Again, we got a few people. Ed. I know. I'm familiar with Eddie from Mike Church. But back in the day, I believe it's the same Ed Williams. He said this. He said, but they do. They just don't put it on the media. So he's talking about like there are whites that happen, but they just don't put it on the media. So and Giles said it's just not broadcasted. So we say it's more, or it's still some though. But I don't know if it's more though. You know, I don't know if it's more. And I think somebody did show numbers, but I think Mike can speak a little bit on this real quick. I think you spoke on it before on your Facebook. I think somebody showed the actual stats of it, but I think you rebuttal with the percentage of the people you have to look at the percentage. So, Mike, if you remember what I'm talking about, share with me before I get to daydreaming about that.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. They actually didn't start reporting that until like recent years, as far as like murders and police. They're not required by law to do that. But they recently, so the numbers aren't even necessarily completely accurate. Breaking up.
Oh, so the number's not accurate, you're saying?
No, I said the numbers, they're not necessarily completely accurate because they don't have to report it. They're not mandatory by law to report that. I would say, like I said, black people make up 13% of the population in the United States. So when you look at that and you look at the number of whites that were killed, the number of black people, the number of whites that were killed in recent years, usually anywhere from about 50 to 100, maybe different people. But then when you look at the ratio, like I said, we're 13% of the country. So why are we even so close to the same amount of white people being killed? What the stats don't show is how many of them were unarmed.
Yeah.
How many of them were unarmed? How many of them were resisting? Like, can be killed, but were unarmed people? Like what we're seeing from black people, they're unarmed, going about their business, you know, walking out stores, being confronted, harassed. Like, yeah. So you have to also put that into account, which we don't really have the stats for. But I would beg to say that they're not being handled the same way.
Yeah, I got you. Appreciate that. No, I know you had appreciate that. So if you guys ain't here, no, he was like, yeah, it's just so many different things that we got to put into factor. How they handle, are they carrying guns, things of that nature. And Mike, you ain't reading it though. No, you ain't reading it. But Gerald said you sound like going to CB.
Yo, I just laughed at that. I just laughed at that.
Yo, my question to Mike was going to be, how far are you from home?
I pieced it together.
I'll be home in like 2 minutes.
What? Did he just piece me out?
Breaker 19.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, so we're gonna go to David.
I'll be home in like 2 minutes.
2 minutes, cool. So David, how you feeling? How you feeling? How you feeling? What's going on? What's your take on it, and just in general?
Well, JJ pretty much hit it on the head. To be honest with you, a lot of points that he said, it would have been about the same that I would have said. And of course, we didn't live back in the times like JJ was saying with like our parents and our grandparents, so we really don't know the numbers. Yeah. But I tend to believe it was probably just as high or higher back then. You got to keep in mind that we have social media, we have phones, we have all this that can actually be captured now. And back then, it probably just wasn't captured as much as it is now because of the cell phones, and you got the social media and everything going. But JJ pretty much nailed it. He nailed it on the head with pretty much every point that he brought up.
Yeah. So it just necessarily being about just necessarily being that it's wrong. We don't, we feel like we're being targeted, right? We feel like we're being targeted with a big target on our back. The thing that gets me a lot is, the individuals that, say that he was big, and like I can't think of the gentleman's name who was on the highway at one point in time, and they said he was big and black. You know what I mean? He was big and black. So for me, that kind of took me the wrong way because again, many of us, that's our culture, right? So just because I'm big and black, am I intimidating to you? Right. So again, there's a real big target on our back. So just me answering the question, I'm agreeing with everybody. Me answering the question, I believe that we all feel the same way. Sentiments exactly. Just the fact that we have these targets on our back. And another thing is, I guess I'm frustrated, right? Angry. I don't want to get into the next question yet, but I think I'm frustrated. I'm angry. We want to see something done. Can something be done? Can some laws be changed? right?
Can I just interject real quick?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to kind of go back to what you just said. You said, are we intimidating? And I was like, well, that's a question that we shouldn't have to answer. That's a question that other non-Black people need to answer that for themselves.
Yeah.
Are we intimidating to you? Because we're just living our life, right? We're being born, and that's just who we are, right? So if I'm 6'5", if I'm 255 pounds, or if I'm 5'3", Black, dreads, like, is that intimidating to you? Because I think that's the bigger question that needs to be asked, but not from us. Like, we're just who we are. They have to answer that question.
And then again, if they say yes, because Keena says LOL, yup, big and Black is intimidating. So I don't know if she's serious or not. But even if he said LOL, yup, big and Black is intimidating. But even that is the case, right? Even that is the case, is like who made us intimidating? Was it television, right? Was it just how they see us in general? Who makes our image intimidating? What makes our image intimidating? But again, before we get into that, because that's one of the next questions I want to get into. We all in the same boat. We frustrated. We angry. We got targets on our back. We tired of waking up seeing this stuff, right, over and over again. We tired of waking up seeing this stuff. But again, can something be changed? I think I mentioned this at our vigil, that one of the quotes that Dr. King said: "A law is not going to get you to love me, but a law is going to get you not to lynch me." Right. So I don't necessarily care if you love me or not. I don't care. Like, you don't gotta love me, but I'm just asking you not to hurt me. Right? Don't hurt me. I don't care what you think about me when you walk past. Just don't spit on me. Right? Just don't do that. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think we're all the same boat. Keena also said, I don't want to change the subject, but it's even intimidating for other Blacks. Wow, that's good.
That's true.
That is true. And now, but the question got to be why, though, right? Like I got to get JJ. So, for instance, like the comedians used to say back in the day, when we walk past a buff dude, right? You're like, yo, you just got out of jail, right? Right. But when we walk past a buff white guy, oh, you just got out the gym. Why we look at him and say you just got out the gym, but we look at the Black dude and say, yo, those jail muscles, those jail. You know what I mean? Now it's a joke, but is it true? Do we see all, like, who? How did that get ingrained in us? You were saying something, JJ?
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think it's systemic. Like, I think it comes down where it's embedded in your brain subconsciously, almost, where, like, when movies, everything that we do we see, it subconsciously gets in your brain. So systemically, I feel like it's just embedded in us that, okay, in a movie, the villain or the guy who's gonna rob the person in the movie, he's the big Black guy, right? And then people see that subconscious. That's why they say, like, media is so powerful that we don't even know how powerful it can be, that it could change our psyche sometimes, of how we think and how we look at things. So that's just my personal opinion about stuff, that we have to be careful about what we intake, like what we take in, and not really evaluate what's going on, because sometimes we get these thoughts. Where do we get these thoughts from? And you have to really think about, like, what are the things that I've been consuming and the things that I've just been listening to. We have to think for ourselves. We can't just let media and everything dictate that for us.
That's good. That's good. And I'm gonna get the TV. I'm never gonna get the TV. I'm now calling television the tell-lie-vision. I'm calling it the tell-lie-vision, because it's nothing but lies. It's nothing but lies. But I'm gonna get to that. So, no, the real quick question. I know you talked on the numbers, but real quick question, just a general intake. I know me and you talked a lot about it. Seeing your post on Facebook. How you feel about what's going on today in society with what's happening?
Today, present day, I pretty much feel like I've always felt. Like, it's just, here we go again. It's another just what we deal with. Because right now we're in the what we would call the quiet period, the down period. Like, we've made our noise. Yeah, I know that people still out there protesting, and there's still things happen, but the awareness isn't as at its height as it was when Breonna Taylor first happened, and Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd, and all these, like, it was just at a height right there.
Yeah.
And we just knew, as a Black person that has experienced and been through this, the patterns, how it goes. Like, okay, they're going to make a bunch of noise. People are going to do things. Even this time around, companies got involved and started to say, we're going to change these policies and do these things. But you knew it was just a matter of time before it got back to business as usual.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I feel today. Like, okay, we're back to normal, business as usual. Even though there still has been no response to the whole Breonna Taylor thing. Still,
yeah, no, right,
which is just crazy.
Yeah,
beyond crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, and I feel like now that the noise has calmed, that whole Breonna Taylor issue is like, it's allowed to just go on as it's been. Yeah. I heard JJ talking, and even Daedrin a little. I heard him talking earlier when you asked this question, and they were, JJ was saying, that, comparing it to our parents' generation and everything. And I spoke to you probably know him. Well, I know Marlon knows. I don't know if Daedrin knows him, but Bishop Wright. I was at his house, and he's hold on. Somehow I lost you. Well, he's a person that has marched actually, with civil rights and done a lot of things back then. And when I met with him, we were just talking general things, and he was talking about what's going on now. And he said to me, you know what I realized through all this? Nothing's changed. Mm-hmm. So for him to say that, and him to have lived in that time, it speaks volumes to me. Like, I can't speak on it because I didn't live in that time. But for him to tell me nothing has changed, and he's in his late 70s, I believe, maybe. He's been around the block a few times. He's seen it, and he's witnessed it. He's been actually a part of some of those things that, civil rights things that have happened. So hearing that from him is very brings perspective. So
on my podcast, I interviewed a pastor, same situation, who marched with Dr. King, and who was a part of his college SCLC, whatever. He was trained, Dr. King, all that stuff. I want to say Reggie Jackson, Jesse Jackson, and all that stuff. But he said the only thing for him that changed, was the fact that how we're responding. Right? Yeah. How we're responding has changed. He said how the look on America to us, nothing's changed. They're gonna always look at us like that, have been. But now he's like, wow, this generation is responding differently.
Yeah.
Responding differently. He said we went to peaceful protest sit-ins and hose me, but I'm not gonna do nothing back. But now when we look on TV, he said, wow, I even take my hat off to how you guys are responding. So I want to roll that into the next question, starting with Daedrin. How do you view what you see on TV? Maybe you was a part of one. You know what I mean? The Martin Luther King, the Gandhi, the Gandhi thing, where it's kind of like peaceful, right? Peaceful, or Malcolm X, by any means necessary. You see the bricks going through, you see the trash cans, and we know a lot of that is media, because some of the people that spray painting this stuff ain't even black people doing
exactly.
it.
Clearly.
But when you see a black person doing it, when you see them, what you seen out there of them standing in front of the police department and it burning and all that stuff like that, and the Target and all that stuff like that, what goes through your mind? Do you say chill back? You destroying your community, or are you saying do what y'all got to do?
No, I'm not going to say, because I don't think doing what you got to do includes, burning down Targets and throwing gas into police cars and stuff like that. I think it's the peaceful. Ironically, it's been a lot of peaceful protests. It's been a lot of peaceful protests. It's been little protests here and there, everywhere, and a lot of them have been peaceful. And I think there's a way you can go about it, and the peaceful route is definitely the way to go about it. But it's just like what Noble said earlier. We did it. We rose up, started putting it out there. I mean, it was on social media, it was on television, it was everywhere, and now all of a sudden it's kind of dying down. And it gets to the point where, do you let it die down, or do you still go right back out there and protest? Because that whole Breonna Taylor thing should not be the way that it is. It absolutely should not be. I mean, I think that George Floyd, that thing going worldwide, it was like forcing their hands to say, okay, we got to do something.
Okay.
We have to do something. But it's like, if we don't put it out worldwide for Breonna Taylor, will any justice come for her?
Now, listen. Now, this is our second time talking about Breonna Taylor, so I'm going to direct this to you, Daedrin, because you're on her right now. We're going to get back to everyone's this question. And everybody listening on Facebook, y'all, I'm just playing devil's advocate so we can make some conversation. Don't shoot me. So with the Breonna Taylor, is it because we don't we didn't see what happened? George Floyd, we got pictures and we got video with Breonna Taylor. Is it because like, hey, look, we don't, is everything is not what you think it is? Now, do you feel like when you say something should be done? Noel said it earlier. Something should be done. Is it like arrest them or suspend them or do something? And is it because we ain't got no video? Now it was your word versus my word. You know, so when you say something should happen to Breonna Taylor in that whole situation, what do you feel should happen, and why do you think it hasn't happened yet?
What do I feel should be done?
Yeah.
Well, something's got to be done. I mean, the fact that they're just walking around like nothing's happened, something's got to be done. Of course, I wasn't there, so I can't sit there and say, oh yeah, they did come in there in the middle of the night. But I know you say it's he say, she say, but the way the media put it out, like the media puts out anything else, it was a situation where they're going in there guns blazing, and then it's like, oh, you're not the person we're looking for. The person we're looking for is actually back there. Okay. So if you're going to put it out there like that, then something has to be done. It's not like I haven't heard, I don't know if you guys heard anything, but I haven't heard anything of them coming back and saying, no, well, here's the real story. The story is blah, 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 blah. And that's why that's happened. And that's why nothing has been done. I haven't heard that story. If that story exists, somebody please correct me. Okay. But being that I haven't heard that story, yes, something absolutely 1000% has to be done.
Okay, cool. Now, but there's something. So we got a comment about there's crazy that there's no justice for Breonna. I'm gonna get to and then Christy Hall commented and said those cops should be arrested, right? So kind of Mike, I'm gonna get to you, JJ, too. So kind of weave that in there with how do you feel? You said something real good at the visual about there's time for Rosa, and then there's time for Huey Newton. There's time for Martin, and then there's time for Malcolm, right? So you can talk about that and then weave it into how do you feel what should happen to Breonna, in your opinion, and justice for Breonna, and why do you feel nothing has happened yet on
Well, I feel like an adequate investigation needs to happen.
Okay.
I mean, at the minimum.
Yeah.
Because as of now, the police department, I think actually the federal government had to try to step in because the police department was just like ho-hum about it. Like, well, it is what it is. That's what happened. We made a mistake. Let's move on. There has really been no follow-up as far as like what we've heard from, as citizens, what we've heard as far from the federal government about, the investigation and all of that. They came in with a no-knock warrant, which supposedly they've now outlawed. This is crazy. But even when you look at just the amount of gunfire that took place in the house, the amount of rounds and shots that were fired, it's like, really? It's like, really? Like, something's not right with that. Like, you can just, it's not like, okay, a couple shots were fired. I mean, this was like a shootout. Like, y'all just unloading. Like,
one side.
Some type of adequate investigation to go on there. And as far as like what you talked about with the, there's a time for everyone. Yeah, I definitely believe that. Maybe everyone isn't going to be the Nat Turner to go kill the slave owners and do all that. Maybe everyone isn't going to be the Huey Newton that just boldly standing, the opposition's face. But we do need those people because if you look at when the whole civil rights movement, when the laws were changed, I believe like before Martin Luther King died. I wish I had the actual information, the data with me, but it was just a matter of days after those riots happened that they decided to change laws.
Yeah.
Sometimes it will take that, like, and if we don't want to sit out outright with our mouths and say you should go do this, you should go burn this down, you should go fight. We don't want to vocalize that, but in reality, change doesn't come unless there's some type of war, fight. Like even in America, what we say we got freedom, but how do we get our freedom? We had to fight for it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always come by these peaceful protests. I don't say don't do it. I say we need that. Yeah. But we also need people that are going to be bold and just stand up and say, no, I'm not taking it no more.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's the only language that some people do hear. Whether we want to, admit it or not, some people only hear that. And unfortunately, it seems like our government only responds to that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that's a good point. I think I heard the truth say that. I think I heard the truth say that. Yeah. That peace is only going to come through war. Right? That's the truth of the matter. In many cases. JJ, where you at, Breonna Taylor? Again, rioting, chill back or do it. So where you at?
So the rioting, I'm kind of like with Adrian. But the one thing I don't understand is tearing up your own neighborhood. Yeah. Now, to me, if you are going to riot and you're going to do some destruction and damage, go to their neighborhood and do it. You will be heard more than, because they're just going to look at you and doing it in your own. They'd be like, well, it ain't our neighborhood. They're tearing up their Target. They're tearing up their stores and this, that, and other. No, go to their neighborhoods. But I never understood that. I'm talking back even to the LA riots and all that type of stuff. I never understood that if that's the route you are going to go, why are you doing it in your own community where you live? So you're taking food out of, whether it's a Black-owned business or not, these are still places that you frequent to do whatever you need to do, shop or whatever the case may be. So I never understood that doing it in your own neighborhood. For me, if that's the route that I was going to take, I would be going whatever neighborhood that I feel like these lawmakers live or whatever the case may be, that's where I'm going to go do it so they can definitely see me, because they can ignore me as much as they want to in my neighborhood because it's not affecting their everyday life. You know what I mean? Yeah. But with that being said, I'm not into just destroying things. But if I'm gonna try to understand the other side of that, is that people are angry. I don't believe in doing it just to get you a flat screen TV or whatever the case. I don't believe in none of that stuff. That's ridiculous to me. I don't understand that. But I understand people being fed up and angry because they're not being heard. And sometimes, anger comes out that way, right? I'm not, saying I'm all for it, but I understand it. I can at least be at peace with that and understand where people are angry because they're not being heard. We talk about politics, we talk about voting and all that type of stuff. And people say, okay, well, we went to the polls and we voted and nothing has changed. So people are frustrated. You know what I mean? So I'm all with the protests. Be safe. You know what I mean? Like, that's my thing, is be safe, because protest is needed. But I don't think that's the only thing. You can not protest and still be for the cause. And I feel like people try to they try to break down our whole movement and our cause because, like, oh, you're not out there on the front lines protesting. Well, it doesn't mean protesting isn't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Some people need to do it in a different way. Some people need to do it in their everyday lives. Like me and Courtney talk about it a lot. Like, hey, we're not the protesters, like maybe like the hardcore protesters, but we may do it in a different way. We may try to teach, like at her job, if she teaches in a predominantly white neighborhood, what she does, then she's trying to teach them in a way, like her students, some of the students of color, she's trying to teach them in a way because they're young and they're impressionable. So she's trying to teach them. So that's her way of supporting the cause and stuff like that. So there's more than one way to protest. You don't actually have to be out there all the time on the front lines. So.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. A lot of comments are coming in. I'm just kind of like looking at a few of them. Brother Delon said something a little earlier about he said about protecting and serving. True, they should shoot to injure, not kill.
Agreed.
Not kill, especially when you're trying to apprehend someone. Right. Protecting and serving should be done while thinking of everyone walking away alive. Now, again, we don't have no cops on here. Again, we all got cop friends. Again, we don't got no time for it. But will the cop say that? Is that easy to do?
The cop won't say that.
A cop won't say that. I can tell
you that. I had a long conversation, not to interrupt you, but I had a long conversation with my brother-in-law who used to be a cop, and we had a long conversation about that because just what Dolan said, exactly what he said is what I said. So I'm like, with that whole situation with the turnpike.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, he could have easily just shot him in the leg or something like that to calm him down. Get him. It was a long conversation. I think any and everyone should speak to a cop. I'll just leave it at that because we literally talked for about 45 minutes, an hour, going back and forth.
After that hour conversation, did you have a greater understanding? Did you agree a little?
Yeah. No, okay. I had a better understanding. I'm not going to say I fully agreed. That's just me. I didn't fully agree, but I had a better understanding being that he was a cop.
Okay.
So I definitely had a better understanding and saw where he was coming from in that aspect.
Gotcha. And even going to another in that same comment, as we get to the next question, I'm gonna start with you. No, is first of all going to that. You look at even when it comes to them shooting in target practice or at the range, there is no bottom. It's just top, right? There is no bottom, so they're not even trained to even shoot legs and shoot like you're running. They're trained to shoot the top, and these are where all the vital organs are. These are where all the vital organs are. That's one. And two, I don't even know on their cars, do they even have protect and serve anymore? I don't even know if I know back in the day, it used to be on their cars, protect and serve. It's not even on their cars anymore. So mentally, they're not really here to protect and serve us. They're not really here to protect and serve us. They're really just here to kind of like make sure we're corralled and make sure that we're harnessed in. And then even if you look how they're dressed, a lot of them not even dressed. They're dressed like militia. They're dressed like the boots are high.
New Jersey State Troopers.
Exactly. They dress like that. It's not even, you're not even dressing away. So it's a lot of things that I think has been taken away in the cops as far as a cop. It's been taken away. All right. So, Mike, I'm going to start the next question with you. No, I'm going to start the next question with you. Just in general, is our biggest question of being on here. How do you feel being a black man in America right now? You can talk from experience, you can talk from how you want to talk, but just general, how do you feel about being a black man in America today? And even before all this happened, have you ever had any type of pressure, any type of pressure that come your way being a black man in America?
That's a tough question for me, at least. Because I don't know if I can really sum up how I feel, because I think it's very complicated. I'm happy to live in a country where, it's as in some other countries where a lot of privileges I wouldn't have. But I mean, it goes deep. I mean, it goes back to just my ancestors. Like when I did that search, I did a search maybe about a few years ago, just looking, trying to trace the ancestry. And when I ran across some documents, I mean, it messed with me, like really, really messed with me, just seeing the census and my great grandfather and great grandfather and how, slaves, and seeing that my great grandfather, I believe, might be the second grade, I can't remember. But he had the same first name and last name as a slave owner. So of course you put two and two together, you already know what that was.
Absolutely.
And then not being able to trace it any further back than that, you just come to a dead end. When you have to really sit with that and just think about it and really just process all that was done to us as a people and how it affected me today, even though it affected me probably in ways that I'm not even aware of. It's hard to answer that question. How do I feel as a black man in America? There's a lot of feelings. How do I feel about injustice? I feel like it is what it is. I really, honestly, I don't know if there's an end of the road to this in our generation. I feel like if this is going to end, it has to end with the next generation. Like they said, like when you said the person you spoke to said the only difference now and then is that they see more people of other ethnicities getting involved with the fight. So I would say that is the promising part, where I would say this isn't going to end in our generation, because there are too many people in our generation that have been raised a certain way. It has to, if it's going to end, it has to end with the next generation being taught not to think a certain way. Racism is taught. And it has to end that way. Like, we're just going to have to keep pushing through the fight, but the next generation can actually end this. So yeah, I don't know how I feel, man. I mean, we've been living with this our whole lives. That's why it's hard to answer that question, because I really have to process that more. Like, how do I really feel? It's like when people ask me, how does it feel to grow up without your father? I don't know, because I don't know what it's like to have one.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good point. That's a good point. And even if you're taking it back to just what they did to, like, your reasoning is not just because of what they're doing to you, but what they did to us. You know what I mean? What they did to us. So that plays a part on, like, how you treated us. We were kings and queens in Africa. You took that from us, brought us over here, and then now you're making us think how, in this type of way. So that can also say, you know what, I'm angry at you for doing that. And I'm angry at you for doing that. So that's a good point. JJ, how about you? How you feel, being a black man in America today?
So, we kind of briefly discussed this. I think as a dad, that's one of my biggest concerns, right? So, my son is 9 and, he living his best life out here, right? And I want him to live his best life. But at the same time, like Courtney and I discussed this some time ago, we were talking about just incorporating what's going on in today's times and letting him know a little bit. Like, I don't want to completely just fulfill his mind because he's just the type of kid he would probably be like, oh my God, this is too much to process. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be doing my job as a dad if I didn't give him some inklings of what's going on in this world today. So although my dad used to try to give me those little things, I used to think that, like, when I was young, I used to think my dad was just trying to be mean. Like, he don't want me to hang with some of my white friends. Before I moved to the Franklin area, I lived in a predominantly white neighborhood, right? So I had mostly white friends. I had black friends and Indian friends and stuff like that, but most of the people I went to school with were white. And he was like, oh, he used to tell me, like, them sleepovers you having, and they probably ain't gonna be having, once you get a little older. And I was like, oh, my dad trying to be mean, like whatever the case may be. But as I got to be a man and started really understanding what's going on in this world, and then becoming a father, I really understood what he was trying to say. He may not have articulated in the way that a 9-year-old would understand at the time, but my job as a dad, my wife's job as a mom, is to try to let our son know, what's going on. Because I do worry about him. Like, this is a great time for him now because he's 9 years old and everything he does is going to be monitored by us at this point. But when he gets to be a teenager, when he has a little bit more freedom to hang out with his friends, where, he can go bike riding way out the neighborhood and all that type of stuff. You know how we used to do it back in the day, right? So we used to do that type of stuff, but we probably didn't really realize some of the dangers that we could have been in when we were teenagers. Like, we all know, I know with the exception of Daydream at the time, but like, I'm sure the same thing in Virginia when he was growing up. We used to go play basketball any and everywhere. We go ride our bikes, we go do whatever. And we were doing things and we could have been targeted so many times that we weren't really thinking. And so I think about that for him growing up, because I'm sure he will have to deal with that at some point. You know what I mean? So that's, and this time, just to kind of sum it up, like, that is one of my biggest fears, is just to make sure that he's good, he's aware. I want him to be, as they say, woke. I want him to be more woke than I am even at 42 years old. Like, I want him to know now that these history books you learn in school, that's not everything. They're telling you what they want you to know. Like, and teaching him is actually teaching me, because there's some things that, like, I did not know when I was a kid at his age, definitely. And even as a young man, I didn't know. So I want to, like, learn that with him, so we can, like, learn this together. So I want to let him know, like, everything you learn in school ain't that ain't it. And
it's funny you say that, JJ, because I think even when you're saying targeted, like, we don't only just got to tell them being targeted of police. We got to tell them about being targeted of that neighborhood that you're in. You know what I mean? Even going back to way back in the day with Yusef Hawkins. You know what I mean? Just going somewhere, just trying to go buy a car, but they looking at him and saying, "Why are you in my neighborhood?" Now these aren't cops.
That ain't it.
And these aren't kids. We got to make sure. that we're telling them about that neighborhood you're going into. You know what I mean? Like, make sure you keep. I tell my son this all the time about different things, but now about race. Keep your head on the swivel. Keep your head on the swivel. Always be looking around. Who looking at me strange? And why that dude over there giving me the side eye? Because again, all of the community that we live in is a mixed community, right? So you may have white friends, right? But that doesn't mean that his friend's going to be your friend. So you're going to a house party. You're going to just play a video game. They may look at you and they may want to get at you. And now we're even talking about the cops as well. So we got to teach our sons. People are saying that right now. We got to teach them the real deal now, that racism exists. My son, I'm going to get to you, Daydream. My son, had his first experience where he really felt it just this year with a basketball game. The team, evidently, I feel our team was better, but it was just some racist. To me, it was some racist calls, right? And then we got in the car. Chris was like, Dad, I now see what you're saying. Chris, he's a sweetheart, right? He's a sweetheart. So he don't want to believe none of that stuff. Nah, Dad, everybody love each other. Everybody the same. Everybody this, everybody that. But the same token, he realized that day, he was like, Dad, he fouled me. They did this. And he realized, so our sons, they're going to learn it. So, but we also need to teach it to them. We also need to teach it to them as well. It's hard. It's a hard conversation, but we gotta tell them. We gotta tell them. Deidre, how you feel about being in America right now as an African American male?
First of all, I love being Black. Let me just first say that. Yeah, I mean, what Noble said, to piggyback on what Noble said, racism is taught. So I was never really in that structure, to be honest with you. I was never really in that structure when I was growing up, and especially in Virginia. I don't think people really saw color per se. You didn't really, well, actually, you know what? I take that back. I didn't really notice it until I got older. That's what I would say. Because once you start seeing cultural things, then you start to see things differently. And I'm happy for the three of you guys, because you guys got young sons. So and you guys are in your prime years right now. So y'all guys got to really, like JJ said, was really like teach them, let them know. We already got the shortest month for Black History Month, but we gotta make sure that it's not just February in our household. We got to make sure that thing is from January to December.
Yeah.
But it's frightening on what's happening now. I'm not going to lie. And it is what you said, Marlon, earlier is frustrating. You get a little bit angry every time you turn on the TV. I mean, I know statistics might be one way and this way, but the truth of the matter is anytime you turn on the TV, it's always about something to do with an African American, and most of the time it's a Black African American male. And it's just everything is taught at home. So we just got to be strong in our belief and make sure that our young ones, hopefully that generation, will cause a change. And I hope, like what Noble said, that it does change with the next generation. Yeah. To be honest, the way I'm looking at it right now, I just don't see it, because it's too much negativity out there, too much racism. And yeah, I really hope that it comes to the point where that they can change it. I definitely don't see it changing, and not in our generation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we continue gotta, like I said, teach. We gotta hope for me real quick as I sum up how I feel, and we get to our last topic, our last question more so. This may generate some conversation because I'm gonna still continue to play devil's advocate. But for me, I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm not necessarily scared. I'm scared for myself. I'm not scared for myself. But but I am going to say that I do kind of get on not pins and needles when I see a cop. Like I'm scared, but I feel like I'm expecting you to do something. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm expecting you to do something, and now I gotta change my disposition when it comes to cops as well. I feel like if I see one, I'm expecting something to take place.
Isn't that how it always been for us, though?
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
No, I'm not saying I'm not discounting your point. I'm just like kind of encouraging, like that's how we always been. See a cop, like, oh,
something about to happen. Something about to transpire. Exactly. So even when now this is happening, now it's even more because again, and this is why I want to roll into, because I'm frustrated. I'm expecting something to happen. Even talking to someone yesterday, even when you get pulled over and you're not riding dirty, everything is good in your car. You just know something about to take place. You gonna act crazy. You gonna do something. So at the end of the day, I'm concerned. I'm praying for my son. I'm not scared at all. I'm not walking around scared. Like, nah, I'm not scared at all. But I am concerned, and I am praying for these young men that's coming after us. So rolling to my next last point, I want to give it like a thing, about like whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? I want to talk about if you guys had any experiences, but I'm playing devil's advocate, and you guys can type in as well the comments, and you guys can chime in. Whoever goes first, I'm not gonna call nobody. I'm in the elevator. True story. I'm in the elevator going to visit somebody in a hospital. It's getting late at night, so the visiting hours are winding down. They're 8:30, so it's real thin through the hallways. I get on the elevator first. No, I'm sorry. There's a Caucasian lady on the elevator with I hop on after her. I hop on after her. She waits for somebody to come down the hallway. Like literally, she puts her hand on the door of the elevator and is looking and hoping that somebody else rides on the elevator with me and her, right? Hoping that somebody rides on the elevator. She's uncomfortable riding on the elevator with me, but it never happened, right? Nobody ever came. So I said, ma'am, no one's coming. Can you please shut the door? Can you please shut the door? I want to either get to go who I got to visit or I'm going to miss visiting them, right? So now I want to play devil's advocate, right? So, okay, that's her fault. Where did that come from? Do she have a right to be scared of me, right? Do she have that right to say, okay, now, if that was my daughter, my mother, would I want her to be mindful about walking late at night inside of a parking deck, right? Would I want my wife to be like, hey, don't be going to the elevator with just anybody, right? So is that lady wrong for not wanting to ride with me? Would I want my mom or my wife to do the same exact thing? Would I want them to be mindful of it? So, Jay, I see you got a smirk on your face. You go first.
So I'm just going to say, and that was so loaded. There's so many points that I could touch on right there. So you talk about whose fault, right? Playing devil's advocate. Well, what's the saying? The greatest stunt the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist, right? So you say like, okay, in her mind, she said, big, tall, black guy, long hair, I need to be scared, right? So the opposite of that is white guy, dress shirt, I don't need to be scared. The devil, so what I just said about the whole devil trying to, convince the world he didn't exist, you might need to be more scared of that person who just looks normal, or let me not say normal because that's not right. The person who you think is just okay. He may be the one that's trying to really get you, because I feel like if I was going to do something, I don't want to be obvious about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So to me, I like what I said to my point earlier about we have to be careful about the stereotypes that are being embedded in our heads about what's scary, what's not. You know what I mean? Like we have to be careful about that. So, to your point, to what you're saying, who's at fault? Like, no, like you're not at fault. You are doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I agree with you. As long as I'm doing.
But is she wrong?
Oh, she's definitely wrong.
But would you want your wife to ride on the elevator with just anybody?
But that's my point. I want you to be aware. Like you said, you told Chris, keep your head on the swivel. I tell that to my son and to my daughter all the time. We play games in the house all the time. I'm always scaring them and stuff like that. But I'm always trying to tell them to be aware of your situation. It's a joke. But at the same time, like if my wife is going to her car from, the store, be aware of your surroundings. Remember what car is parked next to you. Remember, like, don't just be on your phone or in your bag. Like, be aware. So
I'm going to go to Mike next. I'm going to go to Mike next. So if she was walking to her car and she seen me coming, not knowing me, but my size, my hair, see me coming, should she clutch her pocketbook?
I don't like, and I don't want to sound naive or ignorant. I would say no. Now, if he's coming straight towards her as if like, okay, something is looking, but I would say the same thing about anybody. I would say that about a teenager. I would say it about a white man. I would say it about an Indian man. Like, yo, somebody coming to you. I would say it about a woman too. Yo, be careful. You know what I'm saying? Be careful. Like, evil don't know no gender or size or whatever. Evil is evil.
Yeah. So be careful. Got you. No, how you feel? Not that we kind of figured, okay, cool. She was profiling or whatever case is, but where's that from? Is she totally wrong? Is she just protecting herself? She just want to be safe.
I think where it's from is just the stereotypes that have been perpetuated over the years of men. You see on the news that blacks are always being arrested. You see on the news that blacks are murdering, that blacks are selling drugs. You see their neighborhoods look run down. So there's an image that comes in your mind. Speaking of somebody that's not black, there's an image that automatically just comes into your mind of what black people are, what black men are, and how they behave and how they go about life. And they're just murderers and killers. Even the stereotype of Mexicans, Mexicans are all drug lords. The Mexicans, they like, even when, Trump said it when he first running there, they're rapists and they're this and they're that. I mean, that's a stereotype that is just being fed to people. And when people hear it over and over and over, and then you put it on movies and you see it over and over and over. It just subliminally, it just gets into your mind, and you just unconsciously sometimes you just think certain things. Whether they be right or wrong, you just begin to believe that this is who they are. Oh, they're like, oh, they're Colombian, so they must have something to do with the drug trade. Or they're black, so they must be in the hood, and they must, be shooting everybody, playing loud rap music. And they're white, they must live in the suburbs and in this picket fence and have this lovely life. These are these stereotypes that just get perpetuated throughout the years. And if you're going to say who's to blame, it's all of us. All of us are to blame. The media's to blame. We're to blame. Other people are to blame. We're all to blame, because in some way or another, we all enforce and influence that ideal. So yeah, I would say all of us are to blame. Now, me personally, I'm similar to like JJ. Like, no matter where I go, I'm looking. I don't know if that's just me personally, but whether I'm in Philly, whether I'm in Trenton, whether I'm in the sticks, if I see some white people in the sticks, I'm like, oh, I'm like that, because I've been like, people don't know, but I've had incidents, like an incident where I had to physically like try to protect myself from some white people that were coming at me, and I was by myself. Some of y'all know Sleep, so like I think Sleep was with me, but Sleep was he was a good distance away, like he didn't see what's going on. And I had jokers trying to chase me, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, and Sleep come over. Then we kind of like, now I'm like, all right, I got some backup here. Like, so like, no matter where I go, I feel like that. I feel like I always have to be aware of my environment. But yeah. I will say this: when I'm in, like I said, when what's been perpetuated by people that aren't black, when they see it on the TV and the news, they see that black person. Yeah. But when I'm in the hood and I know these people, I actually sometimes feel more comfortable in places that they consider more dangerous. I don't know if it's because I feel like I'm around my people. I'm aware of the murder rate, the crime rate. Yeah. But I don't know. I just have a different feeling being around my people, and I don't know what to attribute that to. But I think that has to do with knowing them beyond the stereotype. When you know someone beyond what they show you on TV, you see them differently. Yeah. And when I don't know white people in the country beyond what I see, I think if I go there, they're going to have their rifles and their hunting weapons out, and they're going to try to gun me down. Whereas if I get to know them outside of that stereotype, then I realize, oh, you guys really aren't really like that. And I think it's the same thing for every side. I get to know a Mexican, I know that they're really not everyone's not El Chapo.
Yeah. Narcos.
Yeah.
yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Good points there. No, yeah, absolutely good points. And again, we all are to blame for this. We all are to blame. Television, we ourselves, us out there acting like fools playing a knockout game. You know what I mean? Playing a knockout game, just going around punching people in the face and they falling. So we all are to blame. Adrian, how about you? Not who again, I know Mike and JJ said a mouthful, but just
they covered it all.
Just kind of like
they really did it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I pride myself into observing, because that's JJ. You hit that right on. You gotta be conscious. And I get a little worried for my wife, because I know that she's not as observant as I'd like her to be. So I'm quick to be like observant and making sure the surroundings, I'm looking here, there, back, everywhere.
Now and as you guys are observing, and this is the last point on this one, I'm going to close out with something else. As you're observing, just devil's advocate, y'all, just devil's advocate. I'm walking towards you, 6'4", whatever my height, whatever my weight is. I'm walking towards you. 5'5" white man walking towards you. We both walking towards you, right? You're looking at us both. Does one intimidate you more than the other? Daydream. No. I'm looking at both of y'all. Like, why either one of y'all walking towards me? Because y'all walking towards me? If I don't know you, why either one of y'all walking towards me? Got you. But are you going? So you're going to equally like they both going to get me? Or are you like, yo, that big black dude? I'm gonna look at him more because he looks more likely to hurt me versus the. Now again, just asking a question because
I get it.
You just asking a question. But you're saying equally. I'm concerned equally about both.
Equally. Equal. And you know what? And I shouldn't look at it equally. I really should be looking at the 5'5" guy, because I could be thinking that, oh, he probably know me. And I know that's stereotypical, but I'll probably just look at the 6'4" black dude, be like, he probably know me. That's probably why he coming to me, but why is he coming to me? So, and it goes back to the whole stereotypes. You know, it's the same thing with it. It's funny how it's a different perception when I used to work on Wall Street. If I'm sitting in a subway and I'm all suited up, doesn't matter you white, black, Chinese, you're going to sit next to me. 90% of the time, they're going to sit right next to me. But let me go home, change into, because I'm going to the club during that time, and I got my hoodie and stuff on. Oh no, they looking, where else can I sit?
Yeah.
So it's all stereotypical. But in that type of situation that you just brought up, yeah, I'm looking at both. I'm not looking at just one, but I would probably look at the 5'4" one more sideways than I would look at the 6'4".
You took an inch away from him. He was 5'5". You took
well, by the time this is done, he'll probably be 4'8". So
that's true. That's true. So, any experiences as we close out? Deja, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna keep it at you. Then go to JJ. Then go to Nova. We're gonna be wrapping it up in about 5-10 minutes. Any experiences, Deja? You have experience out there in the world with racism, getting pulled over? Anything? Have you ever experienced with anything you was like that was blatant? Maybe in corporate America, you didn't get the promotion with like somebody else got a promotion. Any experience you got?
Yeah, definitely corporate America, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, I did get promoted when I was in my Wall Street days, but I felt like there was easily 4 or 5 white guys that got promoted way before I did and started way after I did. You know, it took years before I got to where I eventually got, and then who was one of the first people to get laid off. So I definitely believe like that as far as corporate America. But I will say I've never been like pulled over unjustly. That's for sure. I was speeding when I got pulled over for speeding tickets. But as far as corporate America goes, yeah, that's where I felt the injustice the most.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, but even when you got pulled over justly, right, for whatever reason, you felt the cop was respectful. All the cops were respectful. No cop was kind of like, because some cops are not racist. They operating on power trips, right? They're not, I'm just operating on power trips. I got a badge, I got a gun. You shut up. You're going to do what I tell you to do. And I don't got to follow no rules. But so you never really had a power tripping / racist cop?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, cool. JJ, how about you? Any experiences you had? I know you touched it.
Yeah. So because we got a few minutes, so I'm gonna just try to ring off these real quick because we could be here all day with that. When I was in school in North Carolina, and then I first got my car, having Jersey plates, so I would get stopped a lot. Never got a ticket, right? So like I would be in Raleigh, in downtown Raleigh, because that's where my school was, and I would get stopped a lot for just ridiculous reasons. But never get a ticket. But it was just like Jersey plates. You kind of, and of course, most HBCUs and hood areas and stuff like that. So they're like, why is this New Jersey car down here? Blah, blah, blah. And, it was always just something ridiculous. Nothing where the cops were too crazy, but just getting stopped, trying to see who I was. And they realized, oh, you're a student. Oh, your license is good. Your registration is good and all that type of stuff. It was never really issues. One time up here when Courtney was in school here at the College of New Jersey, a.k.a. Trenton State, I was leaving her dorm, getting ready to go home. And I had her car because I think my car was in the shop or something like that. And as I'm driving, a cop pulls me over, and it was probably like 1-2 in the morning, something like that. Pulls me over, and it was a female cop, and she's like, "Oh, I saw you flitting with your lights," and I was like, "Yeah, so this is my girlfriend's car," and I was like, "My lights are on the other side." It was something simple, like turning the lights on. The switch was on the other side, and I said, whatever, right? So she was like, "Oh, well, we had to stop you," and I'm like, "You stopped me because you saw a black dude driving the car." And not that it was a fancy car. It was like, Toyota Camry, like a, older model or whatever car. But she saw a black dude driving the car and she wanted to see who was in this car because she probably didn't recognize the car or recognize me or whatever the case may be. It's been times where I've gotten stopped, even I would say just as an adult, like in the last 10 years, I haven't dealt with a crazy cop like that was power tripping. But I'm sorry. I had that one story I was telling you when I was in Franklin in high school. I was at a summer school program for SAT class, and I was walking to the bus stop on Route 27, and I had my book bag with my stuff or whatever. Cop pulled me over, cop, and I'm walking. Cop pulls me over, and he's like, it was 2 cops in the car, and he's like, where are you coming from? I'm like, the high school. Like, I had a class. You know, I'm totally like naive. Like, why y'all stopping me? And it was like, well, the Foot Locker just got robbed, and this, that, and the other. Quick funny story was every day I used to kill time by going to the Foot Locker. I used to kill time till the bus came. That particular day, God was definitely on my side because I didn't go to the Foot Locker that day. Like, I think it was just the timing worked out, and I actually was going straight there. And the Foot Locker got robbed, and they were like, "Oh, you fit the description." I was like, "No, I don't." I was like, "No, I don't." And the guy was really trying to be a jerk about it, and then the other guy was like, "Nah, I think we're good," and blah blah blah. So you know, I've had those situations.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Real quick one. Go to Noel. Real quick one I had. My biggest one, possibly. I'm gonna do this real quick. Is that I'm sitting in the park waiting for Keena to get out of school. She's still in high school this time. She's a senior. I'm gonna go pick her up, but I'm eating my Chinese food, whatever. I'm reading a book. I think, cop come now. The not just trooper, not the local, but the county cops. Patrol the so it was Union County cops who patrolled the parks, and really came up to me real quick as I go to reach for in the glove box. I go to reach in the glove box for registration and everything. It was my mom's with. I went for that. He throws weed in my car. So
I remember that story.
I remember telling you that. So he threw weed in my car, and so that gave him probable cause to kind of go and search. I gave him probable cause to go and search it. And I said, "Sir, in my peripheral, I saw you throw it in there. But my word against his, he was power tripping and he was racist. You had 2 of them in one. Oh yeah, you messed up. So he was power tripping and he was racist. And so eventually, what he did was he literally took my book bag. He dumped or a bag I had. He dumped it. Everything in my mom's car and trunk. Everything was on the side of the road for people to see. He said, "Okay, I ain't find nothing." Just pulled off. No sorry, nothing like that. He just saw a black man in the park, chilling. I gotta have something somewhere. He didn't find nothing. But the weed gave him probable cause to come. He took the weed. He probably going to plant on somebody else. He probably. So again, it's those moments that I gotta always tell Chris about. Like, listen, those real out there. No, how about you?
Yeah, man, I got some stories, but I mean, yeah, like JJ said, we could be here forever. But I mean, one is it's kind of a funny story to me, because it just takes. I wouldn't want anyone else to do what I did. Like I was younger, and I was just being like very, very bold in the face of the cop. Like they were wrong, but I kind of was like whatever. I ain't trying to hear you right now. So like me and Priest, we were down in like South Jersey, Lil Kim concert. We were actually supposed to work the concert.
Y'all was rapping?
Nah.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Good question. Good question.
500.
Working the concert. We were doing something like backstage. We were doing something like helping out at the concert. So it was in South Jersey, and we had some time to kill. So Priest lived down there now, but back then we weren't aware of like that area. So we was riding. I forget what we was riding for. We was riding around, killing time, and we get pulled over. No reason. We just riding, listening to music, pulling over. He pulled us over, and I'm in the passenger seat. Priest is driving, and he asked Priest for information, all that. Priest gave information. We're like, why you pull us over? No real. Didn't give us an answer. I'm in the passenger seat. He's like, he comes talks to me and says, who are you? What are you doing? What's your name? Can you see your ID? I said, I ain't driving. You don't need my ID. Like, so I started pulling like one of like, yo, why you talking to me? Like, I don't need to talk to you. Talk to the driver. Like, don't talk to me. You don't need my ID. All that stuff started happening. They took us out the car. We on the side of the road. And I'm honestly laughing the whole time. Like the cop is being like very serious. I'm like being very like regato and laughing in their face. Like, yo, you ain't like what you want? Like, I ain't driving. Like I was very I don't care. Like nonchalant. Yeah, so they pulled us over. I mean, the story is really nothing deep. I can't remember if they looked in the car or not, but they asked a bunch of questions, had us on the side of the road. I was very uncooperative, like why y'all, because I knew they had no reason to pull us over. And I was just being like, very like, I don't want to cooperate with you because you're being racist. So they, they give him all his information back. And they're like, what are y'all doing in this area? Because they saw where Priest lived at. And it was in a place called Beverly in New Jersey. He's like, what are you doing here? You from Kendall Park. That's what Priest said on his thing, on his license. And he's like, no, we doing it. We got to do a concert, blah, blah. We helping out over here. He's like, don't ever come back to Beverly again. Stay out of this town. And he's like, I just started laughing like, okay. He let us get. They didn't give us no ticket. No, we went back in the car. We left. They said, don't ever come back to Beverly again. You stay out of this town. I have no business being here.
That's crazy.
Like, we can't just ride in the. Like, I know we need to pass.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy about that, Noel, is that isn't it crazy that now, even amongst ourselves, coming up, we would tell each other like, "Yo, make sure when you go through South Plainfield, you watch out. Make sure when you go through South
Plainsboro,
you got to talk like that. Why you got to talk like that?"
Exactly.
I remember they had Rashid. Y'all remember Rashid?
Yeah, Cuffy.
Yeah, Cuffy. I remember they had. It was me, him, and Sleep, and they pulled us over in front of White Castle. And it's funny. I think back now because of all this I Can't Breathe stuff. Back then, I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I remember they had Rashid had us all up against the car. They had Rashid grabbed up around his neck and like really choking him. And he's like, I can't breathe. And he wouldn't let go. I remember. But we wasn't doing nothing. We was just like, he was cooperating. We hands on the car, whatever. And he just let us go.
Yeah. We should be, I'll get you, JJ. We should be able to drive wherever we want to go as long as we abide the law. Right? I shouldn't be worried about any of this. If I'm breaking the law, pull me over. If, like Dick and Payne said, Clark is bad, South Plainfield is bad, like Plainsboro is bad. We got all these places. It's like, yo, go around it. Don't go through South Plainfield. Go around South Plainfield. Don't go through it. Like, we shouldn't be talking like that.
Yeah,
talking like that. JJ, what you saying?
Nah, it's like, it's crazy because, you know, like, y'all know, like, I got a car back early this year, and I remember I said,
That's nice.
Got that 2025.
I mean, okay.
I mean, let them know it's brand new too. Let them know.
I mean,
Had like 2 miles on it.
how many
Like
miles?
2 miles on it. You got it?
Yo, can I finish telling my story?
Didn't they drive it to you?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. But
They drove
anyway,
it to you, right? Okay.
so I always said whenever I got a car, like this is back when I had, you know, my old car, was like, oh, whenever I get a car, I want to be able to hook it up a little nicely because I never did that to a car. I get this car and I wanted to put some tint on my car, right? So, you know, here in New Jersey, you can't have tint on the front windows basically or whatever. But I knew, I was like, okay, with a car, I'm not going to have tint on the back windows. That just looks, you know, whatever. I want to have tint on the front windows. So, you know, knowing the laws, I was kind of skeptical because I'm like, you know, that's kind of giving people a reason to pull me over. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's funny. That's funny.
I'm back. Go ahead.
So, oh, that's hilarious. But no, like I was a little worried about getting the tint. Now I didn't get super dark tint. I got like 35%. And it was funny because I went to one of the tint shops on 22. This is the first place I went to. And the guy said to me, he was like, man, he's like, with 35, don't worry about it. They're not gonna pull you over. And I was sitting there like this. You're not black. So they're not going to pull you over. You know what I'm saying? And so far, like I've had the tint now probably for close to 3 months now, maybe. And it, you know, so far so good. I do look at other people with their cars and I'm like, okay, they got a darker tint than me. You know, it shouldn't have be a problem, but you just never know. You know what I'm saying? And I did say this. I said, if I get harassed about it, I'll take it off. Like, I'm not going to be that ignorant. Like, I'm keeping it on. I said, if I get harassed about it, I will take mine off.
Yo,
y'all remember my tints?
Yeah, me and Mike laughing. Yeah.
Guys get pulled over all the time.
All the time. And even Keno right now, she would say, like, why you getting tint? You don't get pulled over. I'm rebellious. My bad.
Yeah.
But you're right. If I get pulled over a lot, and I didn't, but you know, anyway, but you're right. We should be able to drive while we black. At the end of the day, we should be able to drive while we black, shop while we black without you saying, can I help? You ain't really trying to help me. You're just trying to monitor me as I walk around the store. You don't really want to help me. You know, so again, we should be able to shop while we black, drive while we black, buy a house. You know, I had a story when I bought our house 2 years ago that the man across the street was like, you guys moving in here? Yes, sir, we moving in here. So yeah, we coming. You know, we coming. So again, we should be able to do all this stuff while black. So again, we just want to talk today about that's all we got. Want to talk today about, you know, being black in America, what's happening. We got somewhat of a chip on our shoulder because like Mike was saying, not even what's happening now, but what has happened, hundreds of years ago. And I think, one thing that went viral of the young lady who said, "You luckily all we asking for. That's the only. You lucky that we just asked for to be treated equal. That's you lucky that we just asking for that. You know what I mean? Because truth of the matter is, we should be asking for much more than that. So again, we got a tip on our shoulder, but again, being black man in America, it ain't easy. We got to fight with society. We got to fight with corporate America. We got to fight with our jobs. We got to fight with all of that. You know what I mean? So again, hats off to you guys, man, for being great men, African-American role models, you know, fathers, brothers, sons, all of those things. We appreciate you guys, you know. So, and shout out to all of the people commenting, Keena, Deacon Payne, Eddie, Delon, George Gibbs, Deacon Pete, every single person. I missed y'all, Jal, you somewhere up there.
Everybody on my watch party too.
Everybody on,
I got a watch party going on, so everybody up in there.
Must be nice.
Sharif up in there. You remember Sharif?
Hood?
Sharif, yep.
Well, he came to our church like twice, like not right before the COVID.
Yeah. So I got a bunch of people in there too. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So again, any last words? Anybody? Y'all good? Y'all good? You want to sign off? Any last words? Y'all got anything to say?
You know, just like I think if I'm gonna be sentimental about it, like, you know, for us who have sons, like I said, you know, it's a forever learning thing. Like we always going to teach our sons, but also too, like, you know, all of us on here, you know, y'all uncles to my son, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, hey, like it's like they say it takes a village. Like when you see, you know, Uncle Dadrian, Uncle Marlon, Uncle Gerald, Uncle Mike, like, you know, like these are influences in your life. You know what I mean? Like this is just, it's going to take more than just me and Courtney. It's going to take our whole circle. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we all got to continue doing what we do.
I totally agree. Dadrian, any last words?
Each one teach one, man. We just got to keep standing up for what's right and making sure that we teaching the younger generation on how to proceed.
Absolutely. No.
I just say, man, just keep pushing. Let's not let it die out like it's been dying out, you know, in the past. So let's just keep pushing. Don't get tired. Don't, you know, it's hard sometimes, but don't get tired. Just keep pushing.
Yeah, I agree. And I also want to sign off with saying to all of our black men and young black men more so, let's not give them no reason. Let's not give them no reason. Let's make sure that we doing what we got to do. You know what I mean? Keeping our heads straight. All this craziness that we got, let's not give them no reason. You know, let's make sure that we're doing what we got to do and be responsible. Somebody said no hoodies on date night. The line.
I had to laugh at that one. Can't make no promises on that. Can't make no promises on it.
But until next time, you know, we're gonna come back. We're gonna maybe a little bit lighter, not sports. We may, you know, but I'll let you guys know what we're gonna be talking about next month in August. We may be talking about TV shows or movies or whatever the case is. Maybe even fathers and relationships. I don't know, but we're gonna be talking about something in the locker room that only we're making talk at. So we appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you guys. Until next time, join us on the Locker Room. We out. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.